Audio Jungle.
Once upon a time, in a lush and colorful forest, there lived a little squirrel named Sophie. Sophie was a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed squirrel known for her love of collecting acorns. Every day she would scurry around the forest, looking for the biggest and juiciest acorns to store for the winter. Sophie was quick and clever, but she had one little flaw: she didn't like to share. One crisp autumn morning, Sophie found the most beautiful acorn she had ever seen. It was shiny, golden, and looked so delicious that she could hardly believe her eyes. This must be a special acorn, she thought. I'll hide it where no one else can find it, and it will be mine, all mine. Sophie hurried back to her tree and tucked the golden acorn deep inside a hollow, feeling proud of her secret treasure. She imagined how wonderful it would be to have the best acorn in the whole forest. But little did Sophie know, this was no ordinary acorn. It was the Acorn of Wisdom, a magical acorn that could only bring its gifts to those with a kind and generous heart. As days passed, Sophie noticed that her friend Molly the mouse seemed sad. Molly's store of food had been raided by some naughty crows, and now she didn't have enough to last through the winter. Molly came to Sophie and said, "Sophie, could you share some of your acorns with me? I lost all of mine, and I'm worried I won't have enough." Sophie, thinking about her precious golden acorn, shook her head. "I'm sorry, Molly, but I need all of my acorns for myself," she said. Molly walked away, disappointed, and Sophie felt a tiny twinge in her heart. She brushed it aside, believing she had done the right thing by keeping her acorn safe. The next day, Sophie met Oliver the owl, who was wise and kind. "Sophie," he said, "I've heard about the golden acorn you found. Do you know that it's the Acorn of Wisdom?" Sophie's eyes widened. "The Acorn of Wisdom? What does that mean?" she asked. Oliver smiled gently and said, "The Acorn of Wisdom gives its magic to those who share and help others. If you keep it hidden and only think of yourself, its magic will fade away." Sophie was surprised and felt a little ashamed. She looked around the forest and noticed how many of her friends needed help. Molly was still struggling without enough food, and Benny the bunny looked tired from hopping around looking for scarce nuts and berries. Sophie realized that in her excitement over finding the special acorn, she had forgotten the importance of kindness and sharing. Determined to make things right, Sophie climbed up her tree, grabbed the golden acorn, and hurried to find Molly. "Molly," Sophie said softly, "I'm sorry I didn't help you before. Here, take this golden acorn and a few more. Let's share them." Molly's face lit up with joy. "Thank you, Sophie. You're a true friend." Word quickly spread through the forest that Sophie was sharing her acorns. Soon, Benny the bunny, Oliver the owl, and all her other friends came by, and Sophie happily shared with everyone. She felt warmth in her heart she hadn't felt before, and to her amazement, the golden acorn began to glow even brighter. Later that evening, Oliver visited Sophie again. "Sophie," he said, "you've learned the true wisdom of the Acorn of Wisdom. It's not about keeping treasures for yourself. It's about sharing what you have and helping others. That is where true happiness and wisdom lie." From that day on, Sophie became known not just for her cleverness, but for her kindness. She learned that sharing brought more joy than keeping things all to herself. And as the winter came, Sophie's heart stayed warm with the love and gratitude of her friends. And so, the golden acorn's magic continued to shine, a reminder to all in the forest that true wisdom comes from a kind and generous heart. Moral of the story: sharing brings more joy than keeping everything to yourself. True wisdom comes from kindness, generosity, and helping others.